Hi, welcome to the second video. Just to go over what we're going to do on this video, I'm going to do a first time installation of Check Point. I'm going to include where to download the ISO that we'll need. In our example we're going to be using Hyper-V. You can use something like VMware or Proxmox for example instead of Hyper-V. Basically any virtualization system that supports Linux. And the second thing I want to sort of cover is not really planning on stopping these videos per se if I make a mistake. I think it's good that we learn from those mistakes, and it might save you making that mistake if you ever come across it. And that's going to include things like mistypes, or if searches bring up the wrong thing, something like that. So if I look as though I'm kind of dithering around, it's because all of these are kind of done on the fly. There's no specific set target other than the overarching subject, which like I say is just an installation for this. So yeah, let's get going. So the first thing I've done is gone to, or need to go to the user center. And if you need a little bit of a guide on how to create a user center account, there's videos on YouTube, etc. And once you have signed up, it will take you to something like this. And we want to search for R81.10, which is the Check Point major version we're going to be installing. It's not the latest major version at the time of this recording, that's R82, but we're going to do an R81.10 to R81.20 upgrade at some point in the future, and we might go to R82, but again at the time of kind of recording this it's not heavily used out in the field, so it's probably going to be one for a later date. So if we click on downloads here, we'll get this link to the R81.10 Gaia fresh install, and if we go here we can do a download, and unsurprisingly you download it and you get your ISO. So now if I go into Hyper-V, I've already built the ISO, VM here, the virtual machine, and I've given it 4 processors. The minimum is 2. Give it about 8 gig. Probably could get away with 4, but it's probably not advisable. I've gone with the default hard disk space, which I think was about 127 gig. Again, it's just a lab environment, we don't need a lot. And I've tied this to my actual public, but the network tied to my real home internet essentially. I've got 3 other virtual networks as well. Again, if you need an explanation on how to do this, there's probably stuff out there on YouTube, but I mean if people ask for it then I can go over creating the virtual networks as well, that's not an issue. So yeah, that's basically the build, nothing too strenuous. So we then start it up, it's running, we connect. And this is what we get presented with, the first time installer wizard essentially. So we do want to install Gaia on this system, and it's going to take a little while now to do some initial kind of driver installs and stuff. Well, not installs, but loading of bits and pieces, and then we should get the next prompt. And overall it's a very straightforward installation process. There's nothing too much to it. It's pretty much a next, as you would expect from most operating systems if you ever installed an operating system. So let's just give it a moment. As I said, no stopping on this, so yeah, I probably won't edit this out, but it could take a couple of minutes. And I'm trying to fill time until it gets to the screen I need it to, which could be any time now. Still not there. Okay, here we go. So, do you want to proceed with the installation? Yes. And I'm in the UK, which is Great Britain. And again, I'm going to leave this at default at this time. I'll probably go a little bit more into disk space requirements and maybe expanding disks, etc., or partitions probably is more what we should be saying. But yeah, this again for the lab, this default's fine. In our scenario, we're going to have what's called a management server and gateway in one. This is not, again, used too often in the field nowadays, but it is still a valid configuration, just not advised. So yeah, we will have backups and, more importantly, logs at this machine. You'll understand that more later on. So we'll just go OK. I'm just going to set a simple password, again, as we're in a lab environment. OK there. My LAN is 78. I'm going to give this 150. And actually can't remember my default gateway, I'll check that later. Just go OK there. And OK. So again, this is just going to do its installation stuff. I'll probably mute while it does this, and yeah, I'll carry on speaking once it goes through this process. Okay, and that's the completion of the install there. And you'll notice here it mentions browsing to this after the reboot. This is where we're going to do the rest of the installation. But as I said, it's been quite straightforward up to this point. You stick an IP address in on the network that you can reach. You put a default gateway if you want to. It isn't necessarily required, and then you just hit. So again, this is probably going to take a little bit of time to start up. It's going to vary dependent on the power of the system, really. Obviously this is in VM. If you have hardware, it could be a little bit faster depending on the age of the hardware. But what we're waiting for now is to see the login prompt, basically, which if you've used any other sort of networking gear is pretty standard. There we go. So I can log in here if I clicked into it. There we go. Stick my password in, and you'll notice again, in order to configure your system, please access the web UI and finish first time wizard. Now there is a way around this. There's not really many scenarios where you'd want to do that though, especially since the GUI does make it a little bit more simpler, I guess. But yeah, we need to go to that web link now. So if we go here, it's HTTPS 192.168.178.150. Okay, it's bringing up connection isn't private, all that good stuff, because it's obviously a new device with an untrusted cert. And here's the login page. And we enter the username, which is admin, and the password that we set during the installation process. And now we start the first time wizard. So next, we're going to continue with the R81.10 config. We're going to leave these bits and pieces the same for now. We're going to call the host, let's call it CP. Let's just do CPAI. Domain name we'll leave blank. Let's just go with the standard Google DNS. Again, if you were building this in your real life environment, you probably wouldn't want to use Google DNS. You'd want to use your internal servers. You probably got a secondary internal server, and then maybe you'd want Google as something like a tertiary. Anyway, next we're going to use the NTP generally. Because I don't know if I set my default gateway correctly, I'm going to leave it on manual. Again, if you have internal NTP servers, there's no reason why you wouldn't be using these. Check Point do nicely now provide their own. They didn't used to exist, but I think it's probably been around since around R81.10 or so. Maybe R80.40, somewhere there. Anyway, we'll just go with that. So at this section, we're definitely not going to cover any multi-domain anytime soon. We want to do security and or security management. And so this is where I was talking about we're doing an all-in-one. And so we're going to keep these ticked. Again, usually nowadays in the real world, we're probably going to do a security management or a security gateway. For now, we're just going to do both. This is clustering HA essentially. Just going to leave that as is, but we're not going to mess around with this for now. And untick that because we don't have any. Yes, I would like to continue. We'll just use the admin one, which we set at build. So here you can lock down which IP addresses can connect to this device. Now, it's not the worst idea in the world to maybe use the range or maybe a specific network, but there are ways of filtering this within the firewall policy anyway. And as we're again in a lab demo scenario, we're just going to leave it with any IP address. But you know, if you're in a more secure environment or a live environment, you want to add that extra level of security, absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be doing this. Just bear in mind, obviously, mistypes, or you know, make sure your IP address can actually reach it, basically. Otherwise you'll have to go and modify this through the CLI. It's probably something I can show you later on. So we're doing a gateway, we're doing a management, it's the primary one, we're not doing any HA at the minute. We'll just untick this, as I don't think they need my data, and we'll do finish again. Now I'm probably going to just end the video at this point, because this usually takes a little bit of time, even longer than the install of the OS, and this is really the end of it. As you can see at the end, we're going to hit finish. It's going to bring up the first web GUI, the proper web GUI of Check Point, where we're going to do most of the configuration, at least to start with. And yeah, that's really the end of this video. Thank you.